Hello.
So apparently I will be co-hosting tonight.
Surprise.
Hope everybody's had a great Tuesday.
Yes.
I have Dr. Lindsay's chair. I'm falling out of my chair.
Is that why I'm so tall right now? I am.
Yeah, probably. So, happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday.
Hope everybody's as excited as I am about this one. Special guest tonight. My beautiful wife with the 1980s hair.
In my fringe sweater.
And fringe sweater.
Love it.
All right. Vital shift.
Mm-hmm.
December 6th. Well,
Isn't it crazy that it's already December?
it is. Well, let's jump into it. Everything over the past few weeks that have gone on Tuesday nights have been in regard to prepping for 2023.
Yeah.
I don't have to tell you that. You know that. You've been on all of these.
I have. I love them.
So we're going to continue this conversation as promised
Mm-hmm.
for preparation for 2023. We've talked a lot about goals. We've talked a lot about mindset and abundance, and to the point where it's like, man, what the hell else do I talk about? So not that I claim to know everything, but as you know, this is meant to just give perspective. Some people are going to watch this and be like, okay, that's a great perspective on how to start 2023. Talking about the resolution phase starting now.
Mm-hmm.
And how to really encourage people on doing more sooner and not just caught in the vibe on January 1st or January 2nd when we're no longer,
Right.
some are no longer hungover. Like, oh man, I'm already a day behind. Let's not start the year off with that. Let's start that year now in that conversation of how we can prep for 2023. 2023 is, for me, is kind of my mantra, having people take care of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess tonight, from what I'm being told, this just in, but I think it's super important. And I'm glad it was brought to my attention, or brought to my front door here at the office.
Knock, knock, who's there?
When your wife shows up with 80s hair, frilly top, a drink, and an idea, you listen. So, but I think it's super important to discuss communication.
Mm-hmm.
And this can go a lot of different directions.
I roll my sleeves for this one.
Oh boy, here we go. But I think it's actually one thing that we do pretty well.
Yes.
And this isn't going to be all about relationship, wife, husband, communication.
Wah, wah.
Yeah. Well, I need to get on the James factor and get my buttons right. Wah, wah, wah. It's not, but communication is super important going into 2023 for a multitude of different perspectives.
100%.
So I like this idea. I appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me unexpectedly and uninvitedly.
I would never turn you down. So let's talk communication.
Yes.
So when you showed up at the front door, what was the thought? Now, obviously, you had some thought process on this. So lead it off. Communication, 2023.
Yep. So when you as a human can tell that somebody might need a little bit of extra or pep in their step,
You're done talking. Let's talk about my Shannon Babb hat. I wish Shannon Babb was going to be on this so he could see me wearing his hat.
I love it. But no, so I mean, it was an idea that came to mind because I knew that it would serve your love language of acts of service. So we really take pride in knowing each other's love languages front and back so that we can serve each other when we might be having a bad day or even when we're having a good day and just continue to fill that bucket up. And so today I was like, you know what? Today is the perfect day for me to unexpectedly fill Dustin's bucket in a way that I haven't been able to yet. So I quickly texted one of our team members and I was like, hey, can we make this happen? because we have 3 kids and finding a sitter really late is super hard. So she immediately was like, 100% we're on it. Left the office, like bolted out of the office. Was like, Dustin's probably mad at me.
She about didn't get to come back.
And then literally got to my house in a half hour and allowed me to get here. So that not only am I serving my husband's love language, but also she helped in that. So he's double bucket fold of acts of service in that manner. And that goes along with communication, because had I not been able to do that or know that that's something that would in fact help him out mentally and emotionally.
So jumping into that and why you did this, just to kind of be very direct on one of the things in communication, whether it's relationships or people around you, and we do this with our team, is what you've already kind of spoken on as love languages. So if you haven't checked out love languages, it's very, very worth your time to take the free test and very quickly figure out not only what your love language is, but what your spouse's, significant others, families, team, if you own a business or if you manage a team within a business, very, very important, because yes, this does very much give me butterflies and make me feel better, because there's a few different things that we need to know about each other. Just when I say each other, community, people around us. If we know more about people that we deal with every day, it's amazing what you can do, provide, and how you can make people feel. So there's a few different love languages.
Yes.
There are 5. Is there 5 total?
I believe so.
They are
acts of service, words of affirmation, physical touch, quality time, and gifts.
So like I guess I was going to say you sending me dinner tonight before this. I guess that would have been an act of service, but that could have also been more of a gift. But why these are important is because now you can speak to somebody very specifically. Like she could have said, "Hey, you did such a great job tonight. Here's a gift." And I'd have been like, "Oh, cool. Thanks. Appreciate you." But my number 1 is acts of service. So literally doing something, and I've joked for a couple of weeks, like, man, I love doing these. I wish I had a co-host because we can bounce things off each other. And the act of service was twofold in this scenario. And I am very blessed to have the team that I have, because they do serve very well this community. They do a lot for us. They do a lot for me. We do a lot for each other.
Yeah.
But my assistant, and a lot of people here know Cheney, I guess she did this as twofold, that she served me in a way that allowed my wife to come show up for me, and she served me by giving me a co-host. And what better co-host to have than my wife? But it's very important to know acts of service for the people you're around, the team that you lead. And just if the world knew everybody's love language, you could speak to people very, very uniquely, very specifically.
Yes. Communication with love languages is so important, because if you're gifting words of affirmation is
words of service.
Words of service. If you're talking to somebody in words of affirmation, giving them compliments and all of that kind of stuff, but they're not receiving that communication or that love that way, because their top is quality time and they don't get to spend any time with their family or any time with us outside of the office or something, they're not going to actually receive that and or feel like we're engaging properly. They're going to always feel a gap in our communication because of that. So
in action steps for those of you that you can do is pretty immediately, like, prompt the conversation of, hey, take this test with me.
Right.
And I'm not going to do that. Like, let me tell you, fellas that want to be hard and have your arms crossed and be super proud and like, oh, I'll make her happy. No. Like, seriously, take the test, do it. Like, it's not even a test. It's like, just fill the dang thing out. It takes all of like 3 to 5 minutes, and you're going to learn a lot. And I guarantee you that no matter what side you're on, gal, guy, whichever, utilize this pretty immediately. And it's going to change a lot of things. And don't tell somebody you're going to do it.
Right.
Like, yours is, oh man, what is yours? No, I'm just kidding. Hers is words of affirmation. So
Tell me I'm pretty.
I love
I'm
that.
just
I
kidding.
love that hot. I love that top. I love that you're hot. I love your top. I love your top.
Thank
80s
you.
hair is a good look. Love your shoes. Thank you for cleaning the kitchen. You did a great job. I appreciate you
Mhm.
having laundry done.
Yes.
Man, the house looks great. Those are all things. But again, have action steps is go ahead and do love languages.
Mhm.
So we could talk all day on love languages, but let's
Right.
kind of accelerate this.
Mhm.
Because I think I know where this is going. What else? If this is where you're taking this, where do you want to go from here? I love that you're doing this. I love that you're here. You look great.
Well,
You're
thanks.
doing a great job on camera.
Aw, thank
See words of
you.
affirmation, guys, in case you missed it. But where do you want to go from here? Love languages. Do love languages.
Do love languages and understand that not every time you do something, it has to be within their love language, but
Mhm.
also something that we do really well is understanding each other's come from.
Mhm.
And there's no better way to say that than literally understanding their come from. Because if you can communicate within their love language, but you still don't get where they're coming from
Mhm.
with their response, then the communication is not going to flow properly. Like, for instance, I love to love and champion and talk really long sentences instead of just short to the point type of things. And Dustin is straight shot. I mean, he's a straight shooter. He likes to get to the end before even being at the beginning when it comes to that. So if I didn't know that and I didn't understand his come from when he not cuts me off, but sometimes he'll get animated about something and he'll just go.
I did it earlier already on this when you were talking about love languages and we're super excited and starting to really explain it and what you do and how we utilize it. And I'm over here going like, yep, yep. So when this is over, rewind it and you'll see me like, okay, yeah, man, I'm trying to give you space. Like, let's go.
Exactly. But if I didn't know his come from and I didn't know that that's the way he communicates well, then I would take that as offensive. Like, he's not interrupting me in a rude manner. He's interrupting me because his thought process is just 10 times more A to Z than my A to B to C.
And a lot of people, and I mean not just me, but I think a lot of people too, like, okay, I get where you're going.
Mhm.
Like, I don't want to waste your time. Like, let's go. And I think that's a lot of my thing is it's like, one, don't beat a dead horse. Like, okay, I get it. Like, don't treat me like a child. Like, I see where this is going. But also too, it's like, no, like, I don't want to waste your time. You don't have to explain any more to me. Like, let's go. And so come from is very, very key. And going into 2023, come from can be something that we all focus on. And I think understanding your own come from is important to being successful in 2023 and being successful in your resolutions. Because if you're willing to dig deep, look in the mirror on your come from, like, let me just start with this. Your resolution is something you had resistance to, something you haven't done yet.
Right.
Why? Why have you not started yet? And it's okay. Like, I'm not testing you. I'm not saying, you should have done it sooner. You're lazy. No, that's not what I'm saying. But if you can understand your own come from, it's like, you know what? I have some things that I have to deal with and admit, knowing that, you know what? I was overwhelmed. I was lazy. I just didn't want to put in the effort. I didn't think I can do it. I had a victim mentality, and being really honest with your come from, you can help other people communicate with you better when you reach the vulnerable state of like, look, I've let myself go, or I'm just super driven to, put this extra money in the bank account so I can achieve this or buy this or invest in this. But whatever your come from is, if you can bottle that and explain it to somebody, you can really help somebody else help you. If you're willing to be vulnerable and say, this is what I'm looking for. This is why I haven't done it yet. Or this is why I'm pushing for it. Help me. This is what I need. This is how I'm viewing it. This is how I respond best. And this is why. And you can really give people a lot of ammo. And this is something that I do in the practice every day. This is something that I do with my kids and I analyze with my kids every day. This is something we've talked about a lot and been very open with because of, everybody talks about, how you were raised and some of the things. And like, we've talked about those things and what triggers us. But it's something I do every day in the practice because people have goals, and how do we get them to achieve their goals? And how can I help them really get to understand my come from? Like, here's what my why is. Here's why I want to help you. Here's the angle I'm going to help you from. Here's how I can help you. But also getting them not to admit, but maybe understand, or to just tell me, maybe they know their come from. And this is why, this is how I do best. This is what I need from you. This is, and you create this, not just a bond, but you create a partnership and team together to be able to give your best option or your best percentage for success.
And that's something that a lot of people always ask us is like, how, because we're also the couple that, and within our friend group and stuff, they're always like, I just don't understand. How did you two like end up together? How did you land her? But
look at these locks, man. That's it.
That was it. Did me in.
The tattoos.
But me allowing him to go to the racetrack any weekend he wants, me allowing him to go places and things like that. And I say allowing because that's what a lot of the people we talk to are like, I just don't understand. You're always letting him do these things. And
a lot of my guy friends, sorry, let me interrupt for a second. But a lot of my guy friends are like, Doc, like, how did you, like, you're so lucky. And I was like, no, I'm not lucky.
Right.
We communicate well. We didn't settle, and we're always trying to be better. Like, if we could race 8 days a week, most of my racing friends are like, oh man, like, she lets you just do, like, where is she at? I was like, she's at home with the kids, or she's on her way. She's like, man, you're so lucky. It's like, no, like, we chose this. We choose to operate like this.
Exactly. And it 100% revolves around our communication and come from, because I know that he's his best self when he gets to be by, around, or with a race car and his race family. If I can't serve him in that manner, that's not going to be successful for either of us, because pent up emotions become very toxic, and communication then there lacks thereafter. So if we're not upfront and honest with each other when it comes to likes, desires, and wants and needs as well, the come from won't matter, and neither will the communication. So it's not that I'm allowing him to do that. It's that I'm serving him in that manner. I'm gifting him with the opportunities to go be with his friends and all of that kind of stuff, because I love the kiddos and I'll spend time with them. I love him when he's at his best, and that's when he gets the time that he needs and desires, away from the chaos of 3 kids running around and screaming every 2 seconds and stuff like that. Like, all of that revolves around communication and come from. It's not that I'm just like letting him go somewhere. It's that I'm communicating with him that, no, you deserve this. You need this. Go and enjoy, and then come back to us, because that's when you're going to be your best self.
And knowing these things too, like, with, again, wrapping this, getting away from a little bit of the relationship, couples relationship, but knowing these things for yourself and for the people around you and for teams, or if you're a part of a team, knowing the come from of people, it's like, you don't know somebody else's story a lot of the times. And if you can show a little bit of compassion and empathy and dive into somebody, sometimes that's all they need. But if you can also get to know them enough to where, what triggers them, and why does that trigger them one way or the other? Why does that make them angry? Trigger? Why does that, why do they feel so good about that when that happens? Trigger.
Right.
Like, you can utilize a come from with, maybe somebody just lost a family member, or maybe somebody, just graduated and they're new to the workforce. Maybe somebody had a traumatic incident that created, maybe a PTSD situation. Maybe somebody has struggled with, whatever it is. There's the come from, no matter what. Anytime somebody pops off, says something you don't like, you don't know how to manage, you don't know how to navigate, take a second, or even yourself. It's like, I don't know where I'm supposed to go from here. In this next year, and right now, leading up to the next year, try to figure out, how can I evaluate, take a breath, and analyze somebody's come from? Why did they react that way? Or even, did I have a play in this? Was my come from triggering?
Right.
that is the come from different angles can be very, very, very important.
And I think diving even further into come from, a really important key factor in come from is grace. Giving grace before you react, because you don't or may not know their come from. Somebody could say something that you would consider snarky or triggering for yourself, and instead of just popping off and immediately diving into them or coming at them, taking a step back, like you said, and really evaluating exactly what you think they were trying to say from that, because you don't know their love language or because you don't know where they're come from. You don't know their backstory or anything like that. Taking a minute, giving them grace and realizing that, you know what, maybe they weren't trying to be assholes to me. Maybe it was just this, that, or the other.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I like come from a lot. And I think the more you can understand about somebody and literally where they're coming from. Because here's the thing, selfishness is something that I struggle with a little bit. I grew up with some of that and being it and viewing it and seeing it. And I say that because a lot of people, you can't make this about you. So if something triggers you, if somebody's come from triggers you, it's not always a you problem. And so a lot of times the frustration we get is it's like, well, I wasn't trying to say, you just made it about you. Like you didn't understand, you didn't give the grace. You like, it's not about you. So anytime there's something that's triggering, and a lot of people know this and have heard this before, like if there's something that in reverse triggers you, it's literally a reflection of something that you're not happy with or about in your own self or life. And that's okay. So it could be, if that triggered you, it's because somebody does that to you a lot and you're like, man, there's another one doing it again. That's a come from you. But it could also be something that you directly do that you do that you don't want to admit.
Right.
Then it's a self-check. And if you can allow yourself to be vulnerable enough to be like, you know what, I know exactly why that triggered them. And I know why that in return triggered me. And I know how maybe I can help if they will even allow it. You can't close somebody who's not open. And with that, it's kind of, I guess that's kind of a sales thing. And that's the way we do it here. It's like, if you don't want to be here, don't be here. Like I can help you, but I'm not going to force you to want to help yourself. So, but also too, like you can't close somebody who's not open. You also can't help somebody who's not yet ready to help themselves. And that's not a knock on them. And if you're not ready to help yourself, I'm not saying that's a dig on you, but I think if you're willing to be like, you know what, I haven't reached that spot yet, or previously I haven't reached the place where I'm ready to be helped. So don't be that person where it's like, well, you just don't understand. I'm trying to help you. It's like, maybe that person's just not ready yet.
Something that you do that's really awesome that I think a lot of people could learn is literally stating your come from when there is a disagreement. So if we have an argument or something like that, and we're kind of going back and forth in a repetitive manner, he's like, okay, listen to my come from, and he'll explain it. And then we get to dive into that as opposed to just continuing to go circles around each other. And it really takes the argument from an argument to a discussion to dissipate entirely, because then I understand it. Because sometimes you yourself, like we just said, you can be clouded. And the person that you could be speaking to, whether that be a family member, whether that be a friend, whether that may be somebody completely, random, they could be clouded just by a word that you said because it's a trigger. And all that you have to do is allow yourself to say, hold on 1 second, listen to my come from. This is what I meant by that. Not saying anything else, not arguing the fact, just tell them their come from or your come from. And if then they want to continue to argue with you, at least you stated exactly what you were trying to state and where it was coming from in your own head.
No, say it. be authentically and genuinely myself. She's like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be good. He always comes up with like, I know where this is headed, but I don't know where this is headed.
I don't.
All an argument is a dick measuring contest.
I
mean, it's a
not
pissing
wrong.
match.
It is.
And so, and the thing is with uncertainty, with insecurity, with the need to be right, just for the sake of being right. I mean, you could be wrong, but just for the sake of winning and being right, like that celebration is loud, and it just feeds your ego and pride. It's like, that's all it is. It's a pissing match. So if you can take the conversation, the argument into more of a discussion, like confidence is quiet. Like the loudest doesn't always win. And that's the thing too, whether it's the loudest personality, whether it's the loudest, volume, the speech, yelling, like, whatever it is, the loudest doesn't always win.
Right.
And I think that's misconstrued. It's not always, it might always be heard, but it's not always listened to either. And that's something that, yes, I can be very intense natured, and all I wish for people that we see, that we serve, my family, the people around me, and I lead with it a lot. I tell people a lot. It's like, look, I can be very intense. I'm a very huggable guy, because on my love languages, my second is physical touch, acts of service, physical touch. Like, I don't look, you pass me on the street, you're like, oh my gosh, what's he bad about? Like, resting bitch face is real. But it's knowing a lot of these things and understanding, like, it's the loudest doesn't always win. Be quiet, take the conversation to a different level, and be okay with being vulnerable enough to not know what you don't know, and voice that. And that's why what I was saying, as I was circling around to figure out where I was at, was I lead with that a lot. Is like, look, you want to calm me down, give me a hug. I'm a huggable person. But I will also lead with, look, I have a big heart. I know I'm pretty intense and I can be loud, but I do try to explain my come from, because I get it. Like, I know visually my come from. And we talk about this a lot. Like, if you can walk into a room and change the feeling, like right now, like I can walk in a room and change the feeling. It's not one of my greater traits. I don't like that, but I know that about me. And so if I also get like that when I get very focused and very driven and very empowered and very on mission. And I'm like, look, I've just see my heart through this, is I think how I laid a lot of this. See my heart through this. I'm on to something here. I'm not mad at all. I've got a big heart. Let me tell you just boldly what it is I've got going through my head. But that's because we've worked with each other and kind of stimulated that communication of come from, like understanding not only each other, but ourselves.
And we're not perfect at it. And it's something that I think, just like as a parent, you like learn daily new things and how to parent. It's the same with relationships, and it's the same with communication. You're always going to learn something new about communication, and you have to allow yourself to learn it, because nobody is perfect and nobody knows it all. As much as you would like to know it all, you really don't know it all. We're still learning daily. And one of the major things that we are like constantly coming at each other with is circling right back around to love languages. My lowest love language is acts of service, and that is terrible.
This gal gets mad when I empty the dishwasher.
Yes. And I've had to figure out how to verbalize it over and over again, because I default to it triggering me bad. I mean, he will literally try and do an act of service for me, changing the laundry, doing the dishes, cleaning up the family room, and I will get stomp mad. Like, I will stomp around the house and get really pissy because he is doing something that initially was my task. And I feel like I there have to finish it, because it's not an act of service. It's him taking over something that I was doing. And it makes me mad, because then it feels like I am failing. And I've had to try and figure out how to communicate that to him multiple times without getting stompy mad, or without just getting downright like short with him.
So here's something I just thought of. trying to share this to our private group. I don't know if it's happening or not, but I don't know how long this is going to go.
Yeah.
But something I just thought about as you were saying that, and I was multitasking, even though you can't really do that.
I can't multitask with crap.
Is, I could be wrong here, but I think a lot of people, and this might help you, like, if I try to do something for her, knee-jerk reaction, my knee-jerk reaction is like, you know what? I'm going to do something. I'm going to help her. I see that she needs help. I'm going to help her. I'm probably going to resort to, this is going to be good. I'm going to resort to my number one love language. That's my knee-jerk. I'm going to do active service, think I'm helping her. So something for you all, and maybe you even, and you probably have noticed this, but those of you that are new to this, just know that if somebody is trying to help you, if you're in this exact situation and acts of service is not your number one, or and it's probably your dead last, if you're like, just get out of the way, just let me do it. Your come from is because that's your last love language. His or her come from that's doing that for you, their come from is that's probably their top two. Giving them grace and understanding that and having communicated that, it's like, if somebody's going to help you, they're going to probably resort to their first love language. Because I could also, if gifting was my number one love language, if I loved gifts and you were doing that and the house was awry and you're going after it and getting all these things done, you know, and a gift could be, you know, I might go get you your favorite breakfast. And while that's an act of service, I'm also like, hey, look what I got you. That's a gift. Like, then it would be like, yeah, great. If gifting was her last, she wouldn't respond to that well.
Right.
Now, I wake up, she's getting after it, and I realize the come from, and she's doing her thing, and I know how she responds to me trying to help her. And I go, man, babe, the kitchen looks great. The living room might be a freaking mess. But if she's doing her thing, that like, hey, thanks for emptying the dishwasher. That's great. I can put my coffee cup in there. I appreciate that. Like words of affirmations, like, well, he's noticing I'm doing the thing that I want to get done, because she's very driven to do all of those things. Like that's how she operates. So that was my quick epiphany moment that I bet a lot of people lead help with their number one love language.
And then another thing, just springing right off of that, is something that probably could help us with communication with that aspect, or even with you. But this is a really great example of when you start unloading the dishwasher and I get pissed off, instead of starting unloading the dishwasher, be like, hey, I know you're in a place of overwhelm. I'm going to help you in this way, so that I'm not just like, oh my gosh, he's doing it because he's mad it's not done. Because that's immediately what I go to without any communication there for after. That's good too.
Yeah, it is good.
Because it's words of affirmation, but also. And
then also being okay with, and like we can go all night on this, just off the top on this, but I also created that feeling for you, which doesn't always feel good, because me, it's like, I don't like things closing in. I'm maybe not be the most organized person. I try to be, but I do like to be a pretty clean person. Like I'm okay with things with being used and well used. And, you know, my mom used to say, well, this is a well-used house, because some of my friends had like immaculate houses. They were always clean. Their mom's always dusting and all these things. We were okay. Like it's a well-used house, but you know, but I like to be pretty clean and everything. So sometimes when I wake up in the morning and I go stomping through and I'm like, I go off and have one of my moments, it's probably because of that. So also, if somebody gets mad at you for something that you're trying to help with, you might have created the scenario of why they want to get that done because of how you responded before. So that's why leading with like, hey, I'm just trying to help you here. So again, just communication.
So important in every aspect of life. I love communication. We do it all the time.
So, and then again, getting away from the relationship side of things and couples therapy that we're doing here. But it's important because a lot of households, you know, if I was to really come off the cuff and see where this is going and try to take another angle on this, is it's like the amount of relationship lack in a world today, the whole millennial or whatever they're calling it now, that are stuck on the screens and don't know how to interact with people. You know, this is a big deal. If we can understand this, but also relationships as a whole. How many kids out there go through a divorce.
Right.
How many kids out there don't know how to communicate with other people? How many people that get a divorce don't know how to communicate with each other in order to not that's not what people choose.
Right.
So it's like, at what point in time do we as people take action for ourselves to be better? Do we like where health is headed in this country? No. Do we want to be on more medication, have more surgery, more shots, junk, crap? No. But what are we doing to change it? No different than communication, conversation,
Exactly.
relationships. It's like, let's call it what it is and be
Mhm.
okay with calling it. This is not a dig. It's not aimed. It's not about you.
Mm-mm.
But if you're vulnerable enough to see, like, you know what, I can use change, help, advancement, progress with this. It's like, knowing people's come from and communication is key, because nobody wants less relationship, less conversation, less community,
Mhm.
more divorce, more isolation, more mental health issues. And this is all from a place of community, communication, relationships, and how to navigate those things on a deep level. I'm going to be super honest.
No, 100%.
So, and it's really one of my passions too. And for a lot of different reasons in different genres of people, student athletes being the number one,
Mhm.
and kids, and making sure that everybody has the best opportunity to communicate and understand and be a part of is one of my
Mhm.
biggest things, because of, again, a previous come from.
Mhm.
My parents are still together. My parents are very much married, still live in Cuba, Missouri. So not that come from, but different come from, of why I want everybody to have the opportunity to communicate and understand and be a part of and be able to get along with
Mhm.
anybody, everybody, different walks, whatever it is. And that's just understanding people's come from and choosing to be a better person and not leaving anybody out.
Exactly. Exactly. I like it.
7:38. We've allotted an hour for this.
We can continue.
I mean, I think, so let me continue where I was originally going with that, and then we'll decide if we're going to continue
All
on.
right.
So going into 2023, just have this in mind, not from a relational standpoint or couple standpoint, but who you come in relationship with: team member, new friend, trainer, doctor, coach, group, hobby, team, whether that's maybe a country club, golf course, pickleball, like whatever you take on, like utilize some of these things and put those into conversation, and just boldly ask people as you get to know them, like, what do you like? You basically can ask them their love language. Like, what do you respond best with? Oh man, and you can figure out some of these things, but you can also take a breath with, like, oh man, I just met somebody. They were just way over. And it's like, hang on a second.
Mm-hmm.
What's their come from? There's so many people. 2023 is for me, and for me to build relationships and giving people grace and a chance is something I try to lead with. I have a very particular set of people that I get along with very well, very quickly.
A particular set of skills.
But I think I want to do that more, because I want more people to do that with me. Let me understand a little bit more about him. Why is he so intense? Why? And so I want to start to portray the thing that I want people to see in me or give me. So literally the golden rule: doing unto others as you want others to do unto you.
Right.
And from the communication aspect, with anything you want to do and be successful with, you're going to need help. You're going to need people. You're going to need community. So learn how to communicate accordingly to get what you want out of that group community relationship. You will get farther faster, and you will get more and have more doors open for you.
Absolutely. And like he just said, being upfront, open, and honest about not knowing it all, and being upfront and honest in communicating when you're having a bad day, when maybe you feel a little bit off. Things like that are going to be massive for the people around you, because they'll understand not only you'll come from that day, but also how to communicate and maybe better understand you in the future. If I do this a lot with my team. If I'm having an off day, if I'm having a bad day, I will literally tell them. They are high school girls. I start off, hey, you know what? I haven't had the best day. So if I snap at you, or if I say something out of turn or that isn't like me, please do not take it in a bad manner. Just know that I might be a little bit snippy today. And they really appreciate that, being high school girls, because I could easily tell them to point their toes wrong and they could go home and cry to their parents. But because I communicated that with them, they understand it. And that goes for relationships. That goes from being a coach. That goes from being a student athlete. That goes from anywhere. If you communicate up front, your come from, the whole day and or the whole conversation or your whole being will be a ton better and different just by allowing yourself to do that. And that's something huge that you can go into 2023 with, is allowing yourself to voice your come from and be a better communicator. And your 2023 is going to be amazing.
I like to utilize it as a game, knowing what we know now and some of the effort we put into this. Like some of the people I meet, it's not always my knee jerk, but I'm getting better at it, is I kind of turn it into a game of like, how can I win? How can I win here? Like from a good perspective, not how can I get what I want? That's not what I'm saying. But okay, you're having a shit day. Get it. You want to be a hard ass? That's fine. I get it. Like, I don't know what happened on the way here. I don't know if you got a ticket. I don't know if what all you've been through, or who all screwed you over, or how much money you've spent, or how much pain you're in. But then I try to very quickly, it's like, what's their love language? Like what, like much like you, like if your team knew, it's like, I'm going to be snippy with you. So if I tell you to point your toes and you don't like how I said it, well, then you're going to have to suck it up. And I just know that's the day I'm having today. And they go, oh, Coach Erica, you look so great after having 3 kids. I love your shoes. And it's like, bang, changed like that soon. And that's what I like to do too with somebody who's sitting in front of me, or maybe a text I get, or somebody, a Facebook post. And it's like, everybody's like, man, that's all drama. It's like, okay, well, if somebody keeps talking drama on Facebook and you don't like it and you're about to unfriend them, figure out what maybe their come from is and what their love language is, and make it a game. See if you can change somebody's day perspective.
Turn somebody's shit day into a fabulous one. Simply by understanding them. What's their eyebrow shape?
Oh, yeah. That's another one. So that was a good point. I was going to bring that up earlier as far as when we were talking about me, like, yep, let's go. Let's go. Hey, Cheney. Cheney's going to be mad she sees this right here.
Uh-oh.
It came up during a podcast today too. But you know what? Shit happens. Then you wipe. And it's probably going to happen again. So... But when we were talking about me being like, yep, let's go faster. Like, I get it. Got it. Don't want to waste your time. Don't waste my time. Like, let's move on to the next thing.
Right.
We did a podcast with Brian Galkey of Subtle
Phenomenal
Skills. So on this YouTube page, if you haven't subscribed or liked it, go ahead and do that wherever that is, up in the corner. I don't know where that is. I'm new to this.
I don't either.
Just do this because we love to do it. But we do have a podcast with Brian Galkey who talks a little bit about that and how to analyze if somebody right in front of you is that way, as far as like, yep, let's get to the point. You can tell that very quickly. She is not slow it down, tell me the steps. In this podcast, there's some tips on communication skills just by looking at somebody's face. So that was
phenomenal. Cool. Yeah, definitely go watch that. That was fabulous.
Well,
this was great.
43 minutes. A lot of fun.
I had a blast.
This is great.
Thanks
I like
for
this.
allowing me to co-host with you.
Yeah. Well, you're stuck now. You'll be here next week. Cheney has to watch the kid on Tuesday nights now. Sorry. You chose this life. Well, thank you as always. You look great. I like your watch.
Thanks.
Hair looks amazing.
All right, now I see through it.
Don't use up all the love languages in one shot. I like to use them in a paragraph to just to try to create tally marks, and hopefully she realizes that I'm like 35 ahead and she can just like, okay, he meant this. I'll take one off his tally.
I think this surprise takes the cake for today, as much as I do like you complimenting my hair.
It's either the center part of the 80s hair, so it's coming back.
Heck yeah.
Well, that's it. Dinner?
I'm down for it. We got to ask Cheney, but I have a feeling she'd be okay with it.
I think she'll be fine. Well, love and appreciate you guys. I hope you have a great Tuesday night. Hopefully we have I don't know, maybe the same, maybe a different co-host. Who knows? As long as there's a co-host, I like that. It's been fun. Let us know if there's anything you want to hear our perspective on. I don't
Yes.
know. I mean, we're smarter than we look. Yes, we don't claim to know everything, but sometimes perspective is key. If there's anything you want us to ramble on about, let us know. Like, comment, subscribe, share.
All the things.
Have a great Tuesday night.
Bye.
See ya.